Welcome to Take Out a Piece of Paper, and you should do that now. Also, if you have colored pens, pencils, or markers, or highlighters, you should get those out too. Suggested colors are black, red, green, and blue, but you use whatever colors you have available. This lesson is an introduction to grammar and sentence diagrams. When you hear the word grammar, I want you to think sentence structure. Sentences can be very simple. They can be compound or complex. And they can be cray-cray. And the more cray-cray your sentences get, you either sound super intelligent or super crazy. So, you decide. The smallest part of grammar that we are going to discuss are words. Important. Words serve two functions: part of speech and part of sentence. When you hear the words part of speech, I want you to think the type of word. Is it an article, noun, verb, adjective, preposition? So when you hear part of speech, you are going to think, what type of word? The other function is the part of sentence. The part of sentence is the word's job, or what it does. Is it a subject? Grr. Is it a predicate? Is it a prepositional phrase? So when you hear part of sentence, you think the word's job. When you hear part of speech, you think the type of word. Example: starfish. Oh look, there's Patrick. Starfish is a common noun. That's the type of word it is, so we're going to think the part of speech. Starfish could be a subject, and that's the word's job, so we're going to think part of sentence. Say goodbye, Patrick. Goodbye. Example 2. Spelunk. Spelunk is a verb, and that is the part of speech. Spelunk could be part of the, well, actually, a predicate always has a verb, and since spelunk is a verb, it's part of the sentence. It's the predicate. Oh, look, there's that little guy. Spelunking is when you go inside a cave and you start mapping it out, and you go through the stalactites and the stalagmites, and then you get eaten by a monster at the end of the movie. Alright. A simple sentence has a subject and a predicate. The subject tells what the sentence is about. Dog, moon, sink, deer. Here is a rule. It always has a type of noun. In other words, a noun or a pronoun. While the subject tells what the sentence is about, the predicate is everything else. Rule, it always has a verb. Here is an example. Dogs run. Dogs has a subject and a predicate, so this is a complete sentence. Let's take a quiz. As you know the answers, please feel free to blurt them out. Question number 1. How many functions does a word have? 2 is correct. Part of speech and part of sentence. When I say the words part of speech, what do I want you to think about? Yes, the type of word that it is. When I say part of sentence, what does that mean? Yes, it's the word's job. Boys and girls, what does a simple sentence have to have? Yes, a subject and a predicate. What does the subject do? Correct. It tells what the sentence is about. What is a predicate? Everything else. What does a predicate always have to have? A verb. What does a subject always have to have? It always has to have a type of noun. Great. We are ready to start diagramming our first sentence, so make sure you have your paper out. Here is a rock, and here is another rock, and they are colliding together. And here's my special effect. Get ready for it. Kapow! Okay, let's write this sentence. Rocks collide. When you diagram a sentence, you need to draw a sentence line. Another title for it is a baseline, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to call it a sentence line. I count down 4 to give myself a lot of space. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just draw a line. Now, we know that simple sentences have to have a subject and a predicate, and we need to separate that with a vertical line. Now, I go over about a third because my subjects usually take up less space than my predicates. So you draw a vertical line that separates the subject from the predicate. Now, boys and girls, you remember that the subject tells what the sentence is about. I want you to write what you think this sentence is about and write that word right here. And then the predicate is everything else, and it has a verb. So on this side, you will write what you think the everything else is and the verb and write it right here. Now, you should have written rocks. The rocks, I need you to label that as the SUBJ for subject. Also, we know that rocks is a common noun. On the other side, you should have collide. We know that collide is a predicate. And we also know that it is a verb. You have just diagrammed your first sentence. Alright, sentence number 2. Write this down. Lauren trusts. Okay.
Okay, then Lauren's going to catch you. Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
The first thing we do is we draw a sentence line or a baseline. And I count down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And draw a sentence line. And you separate the subject from the predicate as the second step. I leave 1/3, 2/3. Now, please write down the word that is the subject. One of these two will be on the left-hand side. I always use blue for my subjects. And on the right-hand side, please put the predicate. And go ahead and use red if you have that. Oh my gosh, that's right! You absolutely, I see that you wrote Lauren on the subject side. I also see that you labeled this SUBJ. Oh, And also, Lauren is a noun. All subjects have a noun. However, this is a proper noun because it's somebody's name. I know you labeled this PN. Secondly, I know that you wrote trust. There. And you labeled this PRED for predicate. I will write it out and draw an arrow. The reason that I draw the arrow is so that you kind of realize that everything on this side of this line is the predicate and everything on this side is the subject. And of course we know that every predicate has a verb. That is sentence number 2. Okay, let's write sentence number 3. Oh dear. Owls laugh. Okay, I count down 1, 2, 3, 4, and I draw. I'm going to move up one. Sorry, kiddos. Draw a sentence line, and I separate the subject from the predicate. The subject goes on the left, the predicate goes on the right. Please put the words where they belong. Identify your subject, identify your predicate. Oh, that's perfect! You wrote owls on this line with a blue marker, and you labeled it S-U-B-J. And also you identified this as a common noun because it's not a specific noun. Secondly, you identified laughs as a predicate. And you drew an arrow. Oh dear, there's your arrow. And what type of word? A predicate always has a verb. Okay, you diagrammed your third sentence. Alright, flip your paper over and let's go ahead and give it a title. Homework number 1. And we're going to have 3 independent practices. Number 1, stars shine. Write that down. Number 2, capital G. Gorillas rock. Let's go. Number 3. Patty pie sting. Make sure that's an I. It's my unhappy face. Okay, so platypie sting for number 3. Alright. Thanks for watching.
We're better off if all you knew was gone. All along